All right, boys and girls, today we're going to talk about numerical expressions. Numerical expressions have been a part of your math for a long time now, believe it or not. Basically, it's kind of just a fancier way to say a number sentence. And so when you're thinking of a numerical expression, you can kind of go all the way back to when you started doing basic operation skills. So, for example, you could look at something very basic like 2 plus 2, and that could be a numerical expression. As you get older, numerical expressions start having more complexity, and so they'll start adding things like parentheses, or they could add things that are called brackets, and they could be pretty long, drawn out problems where there are multiple steps involved. And we're definitely going to be doing some of that in fifth grade, but as you get older and you get into middle school and high school, they get a lot more complex. So you're looking at kind of a basic numerical expression that you could see as a fifth grade student. And that is, I would read this problem, open parentheses, 3 plus 4, close parentheses, minus 2. And so basically when you're looking at this problem, you would start by thinking, okay, well, what do I notice about it first? And so on this particular problem, you see a set of parentheses around the 3 plus 4, and then you see a minus 2 that's outside of the parentheses. And so what you're going to learn this week as you go through these lessons is, first off, when you see a set of parentheses, you always kind of gear your mind towards that's what's going to be done first. And so if you were to solve this problem, you would simply go to the 3 plus 4 first, which is 7. And then after that, you would just finish what is left in this expression, which is just minus 2. And so 7 minus 2, you get the answer of 5. And so it's a very, when you see it like that, it's not hard, especially because the math here was pretty easy. You just had an addition and a subtraction problem. But you have to kind of keep in the back of your mind they could be a whole lot more complex, and they can involve some of the math that you've seen, throughout the years. So they could involve decimals, they could involve fractions, because if you go back thinking about it with decimals and fractions, we added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided with decimals. But we also added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided with fractions. So you could see those getting mixed into numerical expressions and those types of problems. All right, so this one here is a little bit different. It's written differently because when you're breaking this one down, you see that the set of parentheses comes at the end of the expression. So this would read 3 times open parentheses 4 plus 4 close parentheses. And so one of the things that you have to kind of keep in the back of your mind is, does it have a set of parentheses? And when it does, that's going to be your first step. So if I were to solve this one, 4 plus 4 would be first, and that would give you the answer of 8. And then I would basically just finish what's left in this problem. 3 times 8 is going to give you 24, and your expression is now finished. All right, here's another one to look at. This one would be open parentheses 16 minus 4, close parentheses plus 10. And so if I were to solve this one, I'd go through it. 16 minus 4 is in parentheses. So that's going to come first. 16 minus 4 is going to give me 12. And then the adding of 10 would come next. So 12 plus 10 is going to give me 22. Finish with that one. And one more here for practice. Same thing, open parentheses 3 plus 4, close parentheses times 4 is the problem. Definitely has parentheses in it. That comes first. 3 plus 4 is going to give me 7. Times 4 is coming next. 7 times 4 is going to give me 28. And those are pretty easy. Again, they can be a whole lot more complex, but just kind of starting them off, not too difficult when you're looking at these last few examples. All right, on this last page, you're looking at a couple of practice problems that could involve a word problem, or now you're looking at multiple choice like you would see on a test. And so before we go through these, again, just kind of keep in mind when you're thinking of a numerical expression, you're basically just looking at a math problem, or you're looking at a number sentence, and you're just trying to find ways to solve them. What this page is going to do is this is going to kind of just take you into how it could look on a test. And so we're going to go through both of these. Let's look at the top one first. It says the books in an unusual library are labeled with numerical expressions. Katrina needs to find the book with a numerical expression that has a value of 12. Which one should she choose? So really and truly on this one, you're given 4 answer choices that are all numerical expressions. And you're basically just trying to find the one that has the value of 12. So this is one of those problems where you're going to have to go through and solve each one to determine which one is going to give you 12 and which 3 do not. The one that probably catches my eye here is maybe A. I'm going to put a little check mark by A, and that's because it has 2 sets of parentheses. Don't let that fool you. Don't let that throw you off. If that's what's happening, you're going to learn that kind of throughout this week in math, is when that takes place, you're going to kind of just think of it as solving it from left to right, like you're reading a sentence or like you're reading a problem. Like when I started reading this problem, I kind of was going from left to right as I was reading. So don't let 2 sets of parentheses throw you off. If I were to solve A, I would think about A as being 6 plus 26. So I would solve that and I'd get my 32. And then 4 times 5, that's going to give me 20. And so if I were to now think about the middle, which is a subtraction symbol, I would then solve it 32 minus 20, which in that case, that does give me 12. So my job here, if A looks pretty good, because that gives me 12, I now just need to go and solve the rest of them to see why they're not 12. So if I go to B, in parentheses, it's 15 minus 7. I know that's going to give me 8, but then I times that by 2, that gives me 16, so B is out. Looking at answer choice C, okay, if I'm seeing all of those kind of together, then I'm thinking about really going through these in what's called PEMDAS, or order of operations, which is what you're going to be seeing later on this week. Believe it or not, when you learn this, you'll learn that division is going to come first. We're going to talk about that in another video. But if I were to solve that problem, I would actually look at C and think, well, 36 divided by 9 actually would come first, which gives me 4. And so if I completed the rest of that, it would kind of look like this. I'm going to write it out. It would look like 10 plus 8 minus 4. And then I would solve that kind of going from left to right. So 10 plus 8 is 18. 18 minus 4 is not going to give me 12. 18 minus 4 is 14. So I know that C is out. And then D is a pretty simple expression. It just has a set of parentheses. 25 minus 4 is going to give me 21. 21 divided by 7 is going to give me 3, so I know that D is out. So I know I'm going to go with A. I just had to choose or check those other ones just to be sure. Okay, so that was not too bad. I mean, the word problem there was just basically us trying to figure out which one gave us 12. The second problem, I think, is going to be even much easier, and I'll be honest, and kind of thinking back to the previous tests that some of my former students have seen. This is usually a popular question. They like throwing this at kids. I don't know why. It's a pretty easy one. But I think they're just trying to test student skills when it comes to numerical expressions and order of operations. And it says, Franco needs to simplify 3 times, open parentheses, 8 minus 4, close parentheses, plus 7. And then they want to know which should be his first step. So really and truly, the key here is knowing what comes first. Now, something else I'm going to circle is the word simplify. When you think about simplifying, a lot of times in 5th grade, your mind shifts back towards fractions. And when we simplified fractions, we were trying to simplify a fraction to its lowest terms, or we were trying to basically find an equivalent fraction. Well, that was kind of what we were thinking about when we were doing fractions. Well, now if I'm going to simplify an expression, basically I just want to solve. So if you see that word simplify and it's kind of a problem looks like this, it's an expression or it's an order of operations problem. Just kind of think to yourself, okay, simplify just means I'm going to solve it. So they want to know, what am I going to do first? Well, in the video, again, we've seen it several times. If there is a set of parentheses, you always want to solve the parentheses first. And so in this set, 8 minus 4 is going to come first. So I need to go find that on A, B, C, or D. And if I look carefully, it looks like B makes the most sense. You're going to go and subtract 4 from 8. And so on this particular problem, really not a lot of solving going on. You just had to know what comes first. So we're going to take numerical expressions and we're going to mix them in with order of operations and what's called PEMDAS throughout the week. They really go hand in hand. Pretty easy lesson. It's always kind of nice to get to this lesson after fractions because we've been doing so much with fractions. So if you pay attention to the videos this week, this should be a pretty easy one for you.